Welcome to Product League's Product Management Debate event, Product Insights, Data versus Intuition. Our speakers today are Aria Halon from Navan, Senior Staff Product Manager and Product League Mentor, advocating for data-only decision-making. Ziv Koren from Telco Systems, Chief Product Officer and Product League Mentor, championing an intuition-first approach. We begin with opening statements from both speakers.
Okay, so hi, my name is Ziv Cohen. I'm the Chief Product Officer for Telco Systems Agility. And I'm here to represent, I'm on the corner of intuition, hoping to convince all of you who are praying to the God of data not to forsaken the goddess of intuition. Because I believe that like yin and yang, they go hand in hand, and one without the other is would be the snow.
I'm Ari Alon. I'm a senior staff product manager in Navan, and I'm here in the corner of data. Uh, how data can bring you more preparedness, more reliability, and even increase your imagination and creativity.
Round 1 explores the foundation of decision making. How do data and intuition form the basis of product decisions?
I think my first argument is that you don't know everything. And as a product manager, our word or our argument make a huge impact on the company. And because of that, we have a ton of responsibility to make the right choices. And no one has the hubris to think that just by leading with a gut feeling, they can make it very impact dozens or even hundreds of lives of the employees in the company without backing it with real concrete evidence that the win that they are championing is the right way to go. I wouldn't take a step with this significance without really concrete evidence behind that. And that's why I think that get up back decisions are the way to go.
So, I mean, to be honest, I don't think that there's any PM respected self who would say that he's just working based on gut feeling. That's the domain of founders and co-founders without PM background. We as PM, of course, have to work with data, but it just can't live without intuition. And I think that first we need to understand what is intuition, because we look at intuition as if it was some kind of a magic, and it's not. Intuition is actually data. It's based on data and it's born from data. You said that no one knows everything, of course, but we do know a lot in our domain, or we should not be in this domain. And essentially, intuition is the aggregated is based on the aggregated domain knowledge that simply formed, neural network in our brain, enabling us to recognize patterns, enabling us to foresee possible futures and then assess them. It's actually a cognitive skill, not magic, based and born from data.
I completely agree with that. I think that intuition is born from years and years of data requirement and domain knowledge. But I think my only point of concession here is that you uh, might be talking from a position of someone who has lived in this domain for a long time. And I think that many product managers don't enjoy that benefit. We tend to switch jobs every 2, 3, 4 years if you're lucky, and we really like our job. But when we do switch jobs, we sometimes switch domains. I went from e-commerce, legal, health, travel, and at each point in time, I had to reacquire domain knowledge, and it took time. And until I got to a position where I was comfortable with my domain, I had to rely solely on data. My tuition, good as it may be, uh, wasn't as good as someone who lived in his domain for years and years and years. And so it is my view that data is the most reliable thing in the entirety of my career.
What's your take? Which perspective resonates more with you? Share in the chat whether Ari or Ziv made a more compelling point about the value of data versus intuition in product management. Round 2 tackles autonomy and innovation. How do data and intuition influence a product manager's independence and ability to innovate?
You really, really have to have intuition in order to capture unforeseen user needs. Um, Only intuition can drive disruption by capturing those emerging or hidden user needs that can be captured by just relying on historical data. Um, the process is actually that intuition is driving ideas, which then needs to be validated by data. But you simply it's hard to envision someone coming with a fresh idea if it's not based on some kind of an intuition. And to be honest, users are not always so great about you know clearly describing their needs. That's why we employ things like jobs to be done in order to help them to extract the real needs by what they can articulate about. And consider the following very well-known examples like iPhone. There was no market research showing consumer wanted a phone with no physical keyboard. Airbnb, there was no data suggesting people would willingly open their home to strangers or that travelers would prefer personal spaces over hotels. Uh, I think in each and every case of a disruptive product, you would find intuition. You would find someone looking at the same data, but from a different perspective and a new and fresh interpretation, which essentially is intuition.
So I I disagree. I think that a part of our job as product managers is to uncover the need that is lying dormant beneath the actual words that are presented by the users that we're talking to. I also think that by looking strictly at the data, we can see even more things that are not necessarily what people tell us they need, but what we assess that they need based on the data that we're seeing, on the actual uh, actions that they took the on the resource that they spent. This is how we uncover exactly what they need. And while it is true that no one asked for a keyless phone, they asked for ease of use. They ask for a better UI. They ask for faster responses. They ask for intuitiveness. And you, as a product manager, can interpret that any way you want. But it's the data that gave you the idea that you should even look that way. If I'm taking this and throwing into my next argument, I feel that it's not it's not only that data is not hindering our creativity and imagination. I think it's what propels us to new and exciting ideas. I think that the saying that is attributed to Ford, saying that if you ask customer what they want, they would tell you that they want a faster horse. That might tell you that, oh, data is telling us to be rigid and not going, into new imaginary fields. But I don't think it's true. I think that if you would look at the data, you would see that people strive for a faster mode of transportation, for uh, easier transportation. If you look at your examples, for example, Airbnb, people ask for a way to travel and have places to stay outside of normal conventional chaos because of price, because of inventory. If you look at Uber, people didn't ask to being chaperoned by random strangers, but the founder of Uber did check how comfortable are people with hitchhiking, how they feel towards the traditional taxi industry in terms of how much it costs, in terms of coverage. And then came up with a solution. So it was data that drove his creativity. It didn't hinder it.
The point that you're trying to argue for is that to only rely on data. Well, I'm trying to essentially say the data without intuition actually means very little. And all of the actually examples that you just gave are how people interpreted data in a new and novel ways, which are intuition. And I'd like to share an example from my previous company. We made an all-in-one marketing platform for SMBs, similar to what Wix is providing today. And it was very clear at the time, or at least the entire domain was thinking about SMBs as either having the money to pay for something else to do marketing for them. We call it do it for me. Or if they don't, they would go for Wix or similar platforms to do a DIY, do it by yourself. And that was a prevalent thinking in the industry. We went and did a very, very big survey data, surveying 1,500 people in the UK, Germany, and Poland. We asked them tons of questions, but we've added two questions at the end based on intuition. And the question was, if you're a DIY user, would you switch to DIFM if it was in your budget and you would fully understand what you're paying for? And if you are a do it for me user, would you consider switching to DIY if you'd get a instructions, almost like a plan that would actually tell you how to use the marketing tools and not just the marketing tools? And surprise, surprise, what we saw, and I think it was really a kind of a breakthrough um, enlightenment, was that more than 50% in both camps said that they were willing to switch, which essentially led us to come up with a completely new idea for another product layer on top of the product, which we called um, essentially guided marketing, which essentially created a full marketing plan for the SMB. But not just that, it also allows him on the atomic level of create a post or create a campaign to select whether he's doing it himself with the DIY tool or asking for a service provider to do it for him. Now, that's intuition. It's an intuition on which question to ask, and it's an intuition of interpreting the results and coming up with a completely new idea for a product which was not done by any of the competition.
This debate is your conversation. Our speakers, Ari and Ziv, are here live during the premiere to answer your questions. Have a burning questions about data or intuition in product management? Submit it in the chat. They are here to respond in real time. Our final round addresses creativity and ambiguity. How do data and intuition shape creative problem solving in uncertain scenarios?
Data gives you autonomy. And what I mean by that is, as you've said, correct, intuition is um, the realm of the founders and the CEOs. And you, as a product manager, oftentimes run in opposition to their views. You want to lead a project that you feel strongly can make an impact in the right direction. You want to create a feature that you know will change everything, but you run into a founder or a CEO that has lived in the domain for years and years and years and disagrees with you. And it's his word against yours. And he has experience and he has domain knowledge. And who are you to tell him that he's wrong? And here comes data to your defense. You can say, it's not me that tell you that this feature would be a success. It's the data, it's the user, it's the domain. And that's the only reason that you have the only tool in your arsenal that will enable you to push your views, your agenda, and to know you're correct. If I need to think of a story from my career, I led a project to create a Bluetooth pill box, a smart pill box that will tell you when to take your pills, that will tell you if they're working, that will connect it with your app. Um, and in that pillbox, our founder thought that the main use case, the main attraction would be that the box would remind you to check your pill. And we spoke to users. We ran a survey with thousands of different users that have a pill box or don't have a pill box that needs to take their pills. And with overwhelming numbers, they told us that they don't want that feature, that that feature is annoying, that they know their routine, they know when to take it. They don't want, a stupid gadget to remind them. And what we did is we asked a different question. We asked, would you like a safety net? Would you like us to prevent you would you like us to make sure that you always take your pill? It's a nuance, but it's a different way of presenting the feature. And the feature we changed from alerts to never miss a pill. And we presented it as a safety net, as a way of you making sure that your parents never forget their pills, that you never forget your pills. And it turns out to be a success, but it wouldn't have been unless we had the data to actually change the view of our domain expert.
So again, I have to agree, but mainly because you yourself are using the argument for intuition in that data is ambiguous. Data can be interpreted in different and creative ways, and the interpretation of data is what it is all about. And I again let's take for an example. You have a data point. X% of cart abandonment. That's a data point. But what does it mean? Does it mean that the product is not good? Does it mean that the price is too high? Or maybe it means that your content or the journey that the user made till he got to the cart was simply too clunky. A lot of companies, and by the way, if you'd ask users, why did you abandon the cart? Most of them would probably tell you price or product. They would not tell you the right reason. Now, Amazon, for one thing, understood that it's all about the process. So they invented one-click purchase to make the process as easy as possible. Again, that's where you apply intuitional data. And we're really not arguing the need for data. We're just trying to argue, or at least I'm trying to preach, that as PMs, no, we should not leave intuition just for the founders. We are expected to also be the idea people. And those ideas needs to spring from data, but it needs to come from intuition. And intuition is a muscle. And if you are not going to exercise this muscle, if you're going to leave it to the founders or to other people in the companies, then you're simply misusing what I believe is one of the most important muscles that the PM should have.
So I think I agree. I think a PM needs intuition. I needs it needs to know how to read data. It needs to know how to interpret data. But the way to get to a place where you know how to interpret data is to use data consistently, is to rely on data. And as he said with the your bundles example, the way to know that your solution is good is by doing A/B tests, is by looking at the data. You don't just say, okay, if I do a one click button, then I'm good. Everything will be good. No, right? You look at the UX fail. You look at the event. You go to amplitude or whatever screen encoder you have, and look the movement of the mouse. Look at the clicks. You look at the time between clicks, and you understand that you have a funnel issue. And you say, okay, what if I eliminate the funnel and just create a one-click solution that would just take the user to the end goal? You looked at the data, we saw that you had a funnel solution, and you came with a solution to that. That's amazing. But I think that my main point, and again, I don't think that our views are at, at dissimilar, but I think that the main idea that I'm trying to preach is that you should prioritize looking at the data and not your gut feeling. Look at the data and interpret it. We are expected to be the idea people, but we are most often than not not the idea people, and we can't always be the idea people. We need a source that would drive us, and that source is data, and it would always be data. And it should be the first thing that we look at, and not our gut.
Yeah. So I said that I think that we can conclude this by agreeing the data is probably is a foundation of everything that PM does. But the data on its own, without intuition, is simply not enough. And that you need to exercise both muscles. You need to exercise the data muscle, but you also need to exercise the intuition muscle. And to be honest, one main reason why I really wanted to take this debate is because I feel that too many PNs are simply shying away from using intuition and from strengthening this intuition muscle, and sometimes just hide behind data while they actually should be doing both and they should excel in both.
Hit like if this video gave you insights. Who is winning the debate? We want to hear your perspective. Which arguments have been most convincing so far? Share your thoughts and help shape the conversation. To conclude, our speakers will address two critical questions. In what scenarios might intuition be more valuable than data, and vice versa?
I mean, so definitely there are cases where data supersedes intuition simply because you don't need intuition as much. Probably more so in what I called incremental product development. When you have, a specific function and you need to move the needle a bit on the specific API, that's classic data reliance. You don't need to invent the wheel. You just need to make it slightly better. And this is where you should rely on data, data, and data.
So the rare cases where I would rely on my intuition and not the data, is I think is the complementary to what Ziv said. I think that when you're in an uncharted territory and we do what a lot of the time is referred to as a moonshot, something that is a shot in the dark that you don't know if it would pan up. In the early stages, I would start with my intuition and then I would proceed to back it by data. But in the early stages, I would trust my gut. I would take a direction and go with it, and then validate as I go along.
Essentially, every 0 to 1 product, you need to start with it. You just simply don't have the data.
You don't know what to ask. You don't know everything.
Product management decision making. What is the biggest obstacle to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's clear. It's kind of clear when we look at data and try to kind of force it to match, some kind of a preconception. And we need to be attentive because when we do that, it means that we are essentially, doing the wrong thing. We are not really looking at the data which is staring us at the face, but we are trying to be very creative in trying to make the data fit into something that we believe in.
So I think for me, I see it a lot with relatively new product managers, but also very experienced ones when they're faced with a very important decision. They get decision paralysis. They look at the data, they have conflicting signals. They say, okay, so we need to ask more questions, we need to understand more, we need to have more data before we make a decision. And while you do that, the train has just left the station, your competitors are passing you by, you're not doing anything, you're just sitting there acquiring Excel sheets and numbers and statistics, and you have action paralysis because you're scared because you don't know if you're reading the data properly, if you're asking the right questions. Um, and it's really sad to see because more often than not, those are the projects that get canceled. Those are the projects that although you invested a ton of work on, they go nowhere because the timing is off now. I think it's really critical to know when enough is enough and you just need to make a decision
Based on intuition.
based on intuition.
Now, our speakers will deliver their closing statement.
I'm in the corner of big data. And I think that to summarize everything that we talked about, I think that data gives you autonomy. I think it drives creativity. And I think it is the first thing that you should look at. I know that Ziv preached in favor of intuition, and I agree. I think that you need intuition to interpret the data, to know what to ask, to know when to ask it. But I think that the focus should be the data and not afraid to admit that your gut feeling is wrong and just focus on how things really are based on what you're seeing.
Cool. So micro's statement, as I said, I think we both agree that data is important. But for me, data and intuition are like yin and yang. They go together or they go nowhere at all. And as I said, both are muscles. Both need to be exercised in order to work properly. And we're PS. We're not data analyst. We are about we are the CEO of the product. We are navigating the product to success. And just don't let go of your intuition. I mean, don't just trust your gut feeling. Don't think that you're smarter than everyone, but you're on the wheel. You're driving, and you need intuition to get to where you want to go.
Bye bye, layers! Enjoy this debate. Here's how you can support Product League. Hit like if this video gave you insights. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more product management content. Share with your network to spread the knowledge. And don't forget, Ari and Ziv are here live during the premiere to answer your questions.